welcome on back to 4th and 30 podcast. Glad to have you again with us this week. I am just nailing the podcasts, so go ahead and put something in the chat saying I'm doing a good job. Championship weekend was this past weekend. We've got an off week with the Pro Bowl and the Super Bowl coming up, but we did want to cover the NFC and AFC championship games, and there's some QBs that'll probably be moving around, so we want to talk about some of that. And I don't know if we have any NBA stuff this time, but it's getting to be close to that time of year where more NBA stuff will start creeping in. The Lakers, as Russell Westbrook put it, you're 0-0 when you start the playoffs, so that's what they're going to push to be. But anyway, we will start actually with the night game, because I know we will have stronger opinions on the afternoon game. Rams over the Niners, 20-17. So Kai, I'm going to save you for first in the AFC Championship. So Kelsey, I'll let you go first in the NFC Championship.
I think there was a pattern in the games this weekend. I don't know if either team wanted to win either game. Both teams trying to give away the game. Matt Stafford tried to give it away. Niners dropped a crucial interception. Niners had the lead, blew it, then had the chance for the interception. Good on Matt Stafford, good on the Rams. This is what the Rams are all in for. They're now in the Super Bowl. I don't know. It's something about that matchup between them two coaches. The Niners have their number, and it looked like the Niners had them again, but the Rams held in there, came back, and good on them.
Yeah, you can when there's a divisional round and a divisional game in the playoffs, you can throw records out the window. It's a divisional matchup. Niners have had the Rams number. Rams escaped. Defense came up huge. Just a gritty game and a gutty win by the Rams. Like I said, division games, those are always going to be tough, especially when they're in the conference championship. It's hard to beat a good team 3 times in the same year, or like someone said last week, 6 or 7 times in a row. Niners almost pulled it off. Niners, were playing their best football at the right time of the year. Credit to the Rams defense for making that play at the end of the game, sealing it up. I think the big storyline from this game, one of them, Rams, Matt Stafford, first year going to the Super Bowl. We had a lot of talk about that early on in the year, before the year. Does Matt Stafford make him a championship contender? Cody and I said yes. We had him number 1. And here we are. My $100 bet on the Rams to win the Super Bowl might pay off.
Do you wish you'd put a $100 bet on the Bengals about now?
But big storyline for the Niners, Jimmy G's getting traded. It's almost a done deal. And I don't know how much that interception had to do with it. I think it was already a done deal before he threw the pick at the end of the game, but Jimmy G's getting traded, so we can kind of speculate on where he's going to go. He had a conversation with John Elway. He wants to go to a team that wants to win. And I think their relationship and all that Jimmy G's done for San Francisco, they're going to try their damnedest to do that. And for him, he had like a 69% win percentage in San Francisco.
Yeah, we'll get to Jimmy G when we do
I was just saying, that's one thing I was going to touch
QBs
on,
moving on. But I do want to talk about, and I mentioned this in the group chat, the Shanahan difference, right? So yeah, the Niners lost that game, but the Rams were in position to lose that game. It is not Shanahan's fault they lost that game. So when that guy dropped that interception, I forget his name, Tart maybe? Mm-hmm. Is that his last name?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. When he dropped that interception, there was like 9 minutes to go in the game. But the Rams were out of timeouts because McVay had lost 2 challenges. That's the Shanahan difference.
Terrible challenges.
Both of those challenges were just terrible.
Awful.
Right? And so, yes, I understand there's still 9 minutes on the game, but the Niners are up 3 when that happened. And all that happened after that was Matt Gay made 2 kicks, which Matt Gay has problems. There's something brewing there, and he could screw them up on a Super Bowl. But, Shanahan's a hell of a coach. And he didn't try to make those mistakes that McVay made. The players playing the game let that down, which is how it's supposed to happen. And I'm sure that guy has replayed that in his head a million times, but that's about as easy as an interception as you will ever have. To even if you only get a field goal out of it, the Rams, you can milk at least 5 minutes off the clock there if you get just 2 first downs. It's just astronomical the change in the game that drop made. And I don't think it can be harped on enough that that changed who is representing the NFC in the Super Bowl as that drop.
Yeah,
That was a big time drop.
um, I'm gonna try to find the quote real quick if somebody else wants to keep talking. But he had a really good quote. The Tart guy did after he dropped it. It was a very
Oh, he
humble thing to
knows.
say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say one thing while you're looking for that. The Niners going forward, if Trey Lance is the step up that people believe he is to be, I mean, Jimmy G has done a lot for San Francisco, and I understand why Niner fans are. I mean, it's no different than Alex Smith in Kansas City. I think
Exactly
Alex
what I was
Smith is a
gonna
little
say.
bit better, but I mean, what he's done in San Francisco for the Niners is very similar. And I think Trey Lance, they're hoping, is that next step. But if Trey Lance is that next step, this team is so dangerous. Even in that NFC West, this team is scary if he is the next step because that defense is good. They have, I think we've all agreed as the season's went on, one of the best coaches in the NFL gets the team ready every week. They're a scary team going forward in that division.
Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily a quote. He tweeted and said, "No excuses. I deserve all the criticism my way. Opportunity I dream of, and I came up short. Let my brothers down. Still won't define me as a player or a person. Only get me stronger and better." You can't ask for a guy on your team to take a better stance than that. And that it's one of those things. Yes, Carl said it. If he makes that interception, they can milk 5 to more minutes off the clock. Changes the outlook of that game, but one play doesn't define a football game. So yes, that was could have been a big swing in the game, but for that guy to have that kind of mentality says a lot about him. When there was a handful of other plays that could have been the difference in that game. But good on him for taking credit for it or whatever I'm trying to say. Taking responsibility for it,
Owning up
to it. Yeah, but like you said, the Niners are scary. Their personnel is good. They've got Shanahan, who's one of the best coaches in the league. And if Lance is that step up, like everyone thinks they are, like everyone seems to think he is in that organization, they're going to be pretty scary for a while.
Yeah, that's the kind of guy you want in your locker room for sure.
Exactly.
Our guy. Hats off to him. People miss plays all the time. It happens. It just it's magnified at that time of the year. As far as the Trey Lance, man, yeah, the Niners are good. They're good partly because of Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't care say what you want about Jimmy G, but he's a winner. He's a clutch quarterback. He makes big time throws on third downs. He doesn't put up the stats that some quarterbacks do. And I know a lot of people, flashiness. He doesn't have that flashiness, but he's a proven winner. And they're losing a proven winner. He is getting the Alex Smith treatment. Maybe they know what they have in Trey Lance as an outsider looking in, You wonder if that's even the right call at this time. But it seems like they've made their decision, and we will see as the years go on. Can Trey Lance be that guy?
It is funny that the 49ers are in this position, twice in 2 years? Alex Smith to Kaepernick and then Garoppolo to Lance.
Yeah.
You got to prove you can do it.
I think that's the thing. Like, I don't think it's anything really a knock on Jimmy G as far like everyone thinks Jimmy G is a capable it is a knock on Jimmy G. I should rephrase that. Everyone thinks Jimmy G is a capable quarterback, but the thing is, they've gotten there twice, and you can argue that he's a big part of the reason why they lost twice. So they're looking for that next step. Yes, Alex Smith won in Kansas City, but he didn't get him over the hump. Jimmy G is won in San Francisco, but he didn't get him over the hump. And I love Alex Smith, but that's just the fact of it. And I'd say their biggest weakness is at quarterback. Their defense is good. Their running scheme is good. They just can't outduel quarterbacks when they get in. Like the Chiefs, the Niners should have won that game against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. The reason they lost is because of Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah. One thing I saw, and I had to do a little Googling just now to find it again because I couldn't remember exactly what it was. But this is just straight up a rumor. But the rumor is that if Harbaugh gets the job in Minnesota, that he wants Trey Lance and he's willing to trade Kirk Cousins to the Niners for Trey Lance. And I think that's an upgrade for both teams, maybe.
John Lynch isn't going to do that. They traded up to get
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
Lance, so it's not happening.
You'd have two mediocre to good quarterbacks that are overpaid in most people's eyes. In most people's eyes, that's how those two guys are.
Yeah, it ain't happening. But there's one more thing I want to point out. And everybody's super high on Stafford. Stafford's not the reason they're in the Super Bowl. That defense is. Because this Rams team has made it no further than Jared Goff did just a couple years ago. Jared Goff made the Super Bowl, right? And they bumped into the Patriots in Tom Brady's last year with the Patriots. Like, I understand that. Or second to last year to the Patriots, whatever it was. So Goff took them to a Super Bowl. And this defense is miles better than that defense was when Goff was there. So, like, it's not, do I want to see Stafford win one? Absolutely. But he's not the end all be all. Like, it's not purely because of Stafford that they're in the Super Bowl, because Goff also did it with the same head coach just a few years ago.
Yeah, but
So the Rams are a good team.
Even if Stafford's not the reason they're in the Super Bowl, what happened in the Super Bowl? How many points did they score?
3, and New England scored 13.
Yeah, they're trying to avoid that.
I've ever watched.
It was 3-3 in the fourth quarter. Like, it wasn't a blowout.
No, I understand
that was Tom Brady.
Lucky for them, they're going against a young coach and a young quarterback, not Tom Brady and Bill Belichick in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, Tom Brady only managed to put up 13, so you can't really discredit them for only scoring 3.
I hope Cooper Kupp just breaks off Eli Apple all game long, but that's neither here nor there.
All right. So we'll move on to the AFC Championship with the Bengals playing the way they should have in the second half and coming back to win that game. So, Kyler, AFC Championship.
I said it 3 weeks before the season ended, when everybody's going for it on fourth down, not taking field goals. I said it. The team that just takes the points in the playoffs is going to move on. And that wasn't the only reason they lost. I mean, if you're Andy Reid, you can't really expect your offense to just let down like that, like it did in the end of the game. I mean, it was a big letdown. I mean, I think that's about most what you can say. The Bengals, here's where you got to give the Bengals credit. They went down big. They didn't hang their heads. They stayed in there. They kept fighting, and they somehow pulled that off. But the two big storylines for me, not taking points at the end of the half. Coaches, take note. Take the points in the playoffs. I'm telling you right now, 3 points is much more valuable in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. And then secondly, the fourth quarter, or second half in general. I mean, why Mahomes just did not want to rip the ball. He scrambling when he didn't need to. It was very uncharacteristic of Mahomes and just the way he typically plays. I mean, it's just a lost opportunity for the Chiefs.
I mean, it's all speculation from my end, but I really think that play at the end of the first half, like, threw Mahomes' confidence so far off that he couldn't get it back for that game. You know, it's something he'll have forgot by week 1 next year, and he'll be fine. But it really, just as an armchair quarterback, it looked like that one play threw him off so much, because that's not a mistake Mahomes makes hardly ever. You know, he doesn't make mental errors like that very often. And he was just a different guy after that. And I didn't like the play calling in the second half either. We completely abandoned the run. There was more to say about it than that one play. But even if we don't go up 28-3 there and then get the ball to start the second half with a chance to go up 35-3, that still shouldn't have had the collapse that they had. The offense had been playing phenomenal the last few weeks. They were rolling, they were clicking, they were, it just seemed like they were back to that well-oiled machine from 2020, and it all went to shit immediately. Immediately went to shit as soon as they came back out from halftime.
Yeah. Couple notes. One, it would have been 28-10. The Bengals scored right before.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But I think that I don't think the play call at the end of the half. I don't think the Chiefs weren't taking points. I think Mahomes had a brain fart. I think that the plan was to throw one more quick pass and not into the end zone, and then if you watch, there's a guy going across, and I think Tyreek was supposed to be a decoy, and when the guy wasn't open across, he threw it to Tyreek in the flat. Because Andy Reid after the game, Andy Reid takes ownership for everything. I don't know if you guys ever listen to his post-game conferences. It doesn't matter what it is; it's always Andy's fault. Andy just kind of neglected to answer that question, and that's not like Andy Reid. So I think that Mahomes had a brain fart in that play, and it wasn't that the Chiefs were taking points. It's just Mahomes messed up, and he didn't want to throw his quarterback under the bus. I saw a couple things. The Bengals in the first half dropped 20% of plays. In the second half, dropped 45% of plays. I don't know if you guys noticed in the second half, they had a spy on Mahomes the entire time. And these are things that, frankly, shouldn't make the offense go from looking like the greatest offense ever to an inept offense that doesn't know what they're doing, but it did. I don't know. We did abandon the run game. So, I mean, that's on Andy just as much as anyone. But also, I sit here and rave about Patrick Mahomes every week, and you just don't like what you saw. I mean, honestly, I mean, it was tough to watch, and it reminds you of the Super Bowl the year before. It's like he didn't know what to do at times. The O-line also started playing worse in the second half, but when your quarterback's scrambling around for 10 seconds, it's hard to block people for 10 seconds. The receivers dropped passes on the first couple possessions. It got us out to horrible starts. The very first possession, we had two first down passes in a row and hit guys in the hands, and they dropped them. It was everyone, and I don't really know how to explain it. It makes you respect Brady and Bill Belichick a lot more because of what they did for so long. That being said, they did blow a 21-3 lead against the Colts in like 06 or something like that. But just how they were able to win over and over and over. And this team, you feel like the last 2 years they were the Super Bowl favorites, and they come up second and third or fourth. I mean, it gives you respect for what those guys did for so long. In NFL, winning in the NFL is hard. Like, this is a perfect example of it. The Chiefs, regardless if they were everyone's favorite, I think they were the betting favorite most of the year, the last 2 years, and neither year did they win the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just a tough league to win in. You thought going into the game having Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes would be an advantage, and both of them blundered in the second half. I mean, you can't really say much more than that. And I swear I'm not abandoning my fandom. We're in the middle of a move, so that's why all my stuff's gone. I'm not abandoning the Chiefs today, but it was tough to watch the second half.
So definitely, the second half was a completely different game, and all the credit in the world goes to the Bengals. That defense stepped up. They really did. So yes, we had some drops. So yes, Mahomes did miss a wide open Kelsey and Pringle on the same play in the end zone. The drive that we scored the field goal on. But like all that aside, the Bengals played great defense in the second half. And unfortunately, it's not the first time this season the Bengals proved that they can tighten up. The Bengals are a second half team, and they just did it to us in week 17, 16, whatever that was. Like, they shut us down for 3 points in the second half. And what'd they do this time? They shut us down for 3 points in the second half. So, like, they've proven they can do it. They've proven they're a second half team. And, you know, I don't think the O-line gave up in the second half. You know, O-lines get more lax in the second half because they're big guys and they're tired. I'm also a big guy. I get tired watching them. So, like, I understand where that comes from. And when you have a quarterback that's standing back there 10 seconds, yeah, he's probably going to get sacked. Like, you can only keep up with them guys so long. So, like, all the credit in the world goes to the Bengals. The Bengals won that game. So, yeah, the Chiefs are up 18. The Bengals won that game. That's just the long and short of it. And unfortunately for the AFC, the AFC is going to be a fist fight for the next decade.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome to watch. It's going to suck to be a fan of one of those 3 to 4 teams, depending on who you want to throw in there, but definitely 3. It's going to be a fist fight. it's exciting for one, but I wish some of those other quarterbacks were in the NFC. Is all I gotta say.
Well, you might have Aaron Rodgers coming to town too, so throw in a fourth team there.
Like he's smart enough
for
not
a
to be
year or
in the
two.
AFC right now.
Carl, I was getting ready to go back before you said it, and you said it right. Is all four of us harped on the Chiefs there, but shouts out to the Bengals. The Bengals deserve to win that game in the second half. It ain't. I'm not trying. None of us are trying to take anything away from the Bengals. The Chiefs did blunder quite a bit, but the Bengals deserve to win that game. And you know, Joey Burr played like Joey Burr, and Evan McPherson might have the biggest sack in the league. And so it just good for the Bengals. Such a young team. I know we'll probably get into our Super Bowl predictions this week or next, so I'm not going to say it now. But what a Cinderella story when I think consensusly they were picked to finish third or fourth in the AFC North, and here they are playing for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Bengals are way ahead of the curve. I mean, I don't think anybody in that front office would have told you we're going to make the Super Bowl in Joe Burrow's second year after being injured.
Yeah.
That great defense, they played Trey Hendrickson on the line. Dude plays with so much heart and so much passion. And that's part of what won this game. The Bengals played with more heart. The Chiefs have been there before. They got up big. They got lax. And the Bengals didn't give up. They played with more heart in the second half, and they deserved it. And, we'll talk about the Super Bowl later, but I think it'll be a good one.
It gives you I hate this comparison because everyone keeps making it over and over and over and over and over. But the adjustments the defense made in the second half for the Bengals gives you vibes of Bill Belichick, and the way that Joe Burrow never stops playing gives you vibes of Tom Brady. I hate the comparison because there isn't going to be another Brady and Belichick, but it just makes you feel that way watching that game.
So here's the thing: is you're right, Kels, but Bill Belichick is an old stick in the mud. Doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks about him. He's just there to do his job. Tom Brady, I think, as everyone's grown to like him since he's moved out of New England, is not really. I mean, yeah, he's pretty cool, but he's not the figure that Joe Burrow is. And so, Zach, what's their coach's name? Zach what?
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor is a cool young coach. Joe Burrow is as cool young quarterback as you get. So, in a sense of, yeah, they're similar to Belichick and Brady, yes, but they're great for young kids and getting into football too, because it's hard to become a fan of Brady and Belichick because of who they are. You can like them because they were good, but they're not really like catchy personalities. Joe Burrow and Cincinnati's coach and some of those other guys are really likable people that are good for the sport of football.
But we did have something rare happen in that game. The team that won the coin toss in overtime did not win the game, which was good to see.
The overtime rule will not change.
Teams that win the coin toss in overtime in playoffs are 9-2 overall. Change the rule. I don't care who won. 10-2. Change the rule. That 10-2 does not. 10-2 means the game's coming down to a coin flip.
But the Bengals winning hurt that agenda.
It doesn't matter. It's 10-2. That's enough of a. That the rule needs to change. It doesn't have anything to do with the Chiefs or Bengals. It's the rule needs to change.
I agree. The Chiefs tried to get it changed 3 years ago, but the problem is it voted 3-1. It's not going to change after the Bengals just won, losing the coin toss.
It's not going to, but it needs to.
Agreed, completely.
So I do want to circle back to one thing. So I mentioned it personally on our last episode, and I've seen a lot of Chiefs fans mention this as well, that the Chiefs aren't done. And I do want to remind everybody that sports are fluky, and sometimes you only get a narrow window, right? So, a couple references here. 99 Rams, right? Greatest show on turf. Who would have ever thought that they only win one Super Bowl?
They had a sudden decline, too.
06 Colts. Manning, Bob the Hitman Sanders. They only won one Super Bowl. 2013 Seahawks with the Legion of Boom. They only won one Super Bowl. 2010 Green Bay Packers with Aaron Rodgers only won one Super Bowl. So, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that this was the Chiefs' window and it just closed. And I know that sucks to say out loud, but that's the God's honest truth, guys. Like, this literally could have been it, and we waited for it our whole lives, right? Like, we waited for this window that where the Chiefs were going to be good, and we got it, right? But we need to not overlook the fact that sports come down to the smallest of details, and sometimes your team doesn't have those, and this could have been it. Like, we're probably still going to get to the playoffs and make some noise and do all that, but like, the era of there could be a Chiefs dynasty could very well be over. And I just want anybody listening, if you're a Chiefs fan, to kind of keep that in the back of your mind moving forward, and don't expect just top tier out of the Chiefs every year, because it's probably not going to happen, because sports don't work that way. Not everybody is Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the Patriots. It just doesn't work. Not everybody's Michael Jordan with the Bulls, Montana with the Niners. It just doesn't work that way, guys. So just pump the brakes a little bit. Be happy you're a Chiefs fan and you got to live in the moment these past 7 years and not be on a dog shit team.
I've been harping that for a while now. People keep saying that they're going to be back and going to be back, and you waited 50 years for a Super Bowl. There's nothing saying that you won't wait 50 more. Now, I have to believe at some point in Patrick Mahomes' career, if he's in Kansas City with Andy Reid, they're going to be right there. But it doesn't mean that they're going to win another Super Bowl.
Prime Big Ben didn't ever win a Super Bowl. He won two when he was
those
younger.
2010 Packers, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he won in 09 or something like that was his last one. But Prime Big Ben, when he was at his best, didn't win a Super Bowl.
He should have been the MVP of the 09 one, though.
Oh, for sure.
They gave it to Holmes, but it should have been Ben.
Ben doesn't get that credit. It's okay.
He's still going to go into the Hall.
He also probably should have won 2015 MVP, 2014. Something like that. But
you told me that once, and I didn't believe you, but I looked at the stats, and he definitely had an argument for it.
My point to Carl's point, it's hard because you can't just win with Mahomes. It's hard to keep that championship caliber defense. It's hard to keep hitting on those 3rd and 4th round draft picks every year that you have to do when you're getting the 30th overall pick. They're not going to be picking inside the top 15 with Mahomes. They're going to be competing, but it's just hard to put a championship caliber roster out there over and over.
And the NFL is the league that's hardest to do it in with one guy. I mean, it's a team game. NBA, you can be carried by one or two guys. NFL, not so much.
But the Chiefs do have a little bit of a window left. Carl is exactly right. This year could have been the end of it, but they are set up to get a chance at a couple more years before Kelsey gets real old, before some guys start leaving. We're going to be lucky to have Mahomes until he's like 95 or however long that contract was. And he's going to keep us a relevant team. But we have a window to be good for 2 or 3 more years. Maybe not, 14-3 type of good, but we'll be in the playoffs. But it could we might not get Matthew back this year. With a few pieces leaving, who knows what happens on the trade block? You never know. It could be the end, but there is still a chance for a couple more year window left.
So the good thing for the Chiefs is how they've hit on all their draft picks recently. Snead as a corner, he's one of the best in the league. That pick he made was huge, and I thought it just turned the momentum right around in that game. It didn't, but that was a hell of a play. Nick Bolton. Dude, Nick Bolton as a rookie, absolute stud. So they've
Willie Gay, Creed Humphrey.
That helps you out. I mean, when you hit on young guys like that, that's huge for your team outlook.
Yeah, I mean,
Nick
they've
Bolton
got a lot
is
of
definitely going to be a huge asset moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Him and Gay both. If they can keep those two linebackers together, I mean that'll be fantastic. But they've got a lot of decisions to make this offseason. You already said Honey Badger. Frank Clark's gone. I know he underperformed his contract, no doubt, but he still has given us a little bit of production on the D-line that has been very underperforming. I mean, they've got a lot of decisions to make this offseason.
What's the status on Melvin Ingram's contract? Is it
Well,
done?
it was just
It,
1 year.
it was a
but
1 year deal.
I think he'll be re-signed. I don't think that'll be a big deal because he's not going to want much money.
Yeah.
Brown's going to need a lot of money though at left tackle.
Yep, that's
Mhm.
one that might not be back next year. There's a lot of guys that are.
Well,
I
Veach
had a list, but I didn't bring it.
Veach said in his press conference that Brown is number one, even behind Matthew. Like that
And
Brown
I
is
think he
number
said
one.
Brown was 1 and Honey Badger was 2 for getting re-signed. I think he said.
Alrighty, well that seals it up. We want to talk about Super Bowl next week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, wait till
Yeah.
Yeah. So the picks, Cody and I are still tied, so we're gonna have to go opposites in the Super Bowl to see who wins the playoff picks. Because nobody picked any correct games in, or no,
we can do
everybody
total
picked
points as a tiebreaker or something.
everybody picked the Rams, everybody picked the Chiefs in the championship round. So, that's where that stands. But we're gonna move on to people that are moving on, QBs. Obviously there's two ginormous legends of the game leaving into retirement this year in Tom Brady and Big Ben Roethlisberger. So that leaves two, like, no kidding, gaping holes on those teams. But there's also going to be quite a bit of reshuffling. So where do we want to start? Who has a quarterback you want to start with? We've already mentioned Garoppolo. We can hit on that a little more.
Do we want to start at the top or the bottom?
Let's just start with old Aaron Rodgers. Start at the top. I'll make this short and easy. He's going to Denver.
I think he goes to Tampa. Why wouldn't he?
Tampa's an option.
He knows that team works, right? And he knows that, Godwin's going to come back and, Gronk's done. But, like,
Tampa Bay is going to lose a lot of has a lot of decisions to make as well, especially if they take Aaron Rodgers' contract on.
Yeah, I really don't know. I think the Broncos' objective when they signed the Green Bay offensive coordinator was to try and help lure Devontae Adams and or Aaron Rodgers to Denver. I definitely think that was part of the reason why he was signed there. Rodgers is tough, man. You never know what the dude's thinking.
He might just not play too.
Yeah, that's crossed my mind.
I
He might
wouldn't
just retire.
be surprised.
I don't know why he would want to go to the AFC. We just talked about all the quarterbacks in the AFC. I really don't know why he'd want to. Like, I'm not saying he would, but there's a legit chance if he went to the AFC West, he could finish third in his division. Like that's a possibility. There's also a chance they could win the division and take over the AFC West. It could go either way, but I don't know. I would say he's going to stay in the NFC, so I think Tampa Bay is the best spot for him. I don't know though. I don't know what's going through his mind.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm staying in Green Bay. Why leave a good situation? You have made that a murky situation yourself. I'd be loyal. I'd stay with the Packers. It's a good situation. They're still competitive. They were a Super Bowl contending team this year. They just didn't get it done in the playoffs. Like we talked about earlier, it's hard to get it done in the playoffs. It's not the NBA where you give it 2 years and blow it up. It's the NFL.
But that's the thing, Kai, is you said you would be loyal, and there's no doubt about it that you would be loyal, and most of us would probably be loyal to that team, but it's Aaron Rodgers we're talking about. He does not care. He does not care if he burns any bridges.
At this point, if he stays in Green Bay, he looks like a complete idiot for how much, like, he just keeps talking and talking and talking, and then never, like, he's just like, I hate this franchise. They need to do something. I need to do something. I hate this franchise. And then I'll just stay here another year and see what happens.
Here's what happens to Aaron Rodgers this offseason. He goes hiking on the Pacific Coast Trail, takes some shrooms, forgets about life. It gets to be December, and he pops back up on the grid, and he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot there's football. I'm retired now. I think that's what happens to Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. I think mentally he's just done. Like, he's still probably going to win the MVP this year, but, like, I just think he's done. He just doesn't sound like a guy that wants to continue playing football. He doesn't sound like a guy that wants to, like, all right, you don't want to go to a rebuild situation or wherever. Where the hell are you going to go, bud? Like, you carry this huge luggage with you everywhere you go in your contract. There's only a few teams that could take you. And so when you look at those few teams, who's not in that limbo zone to compete for a Super Bowl. So I got a cough.
Yeah, well, just from a straight appearance, like physical appearance, Aaron Rodgers looks like he was done with football at the beginning of this year. Uh, he looks like Frank off of Shameless now. Does not look like an NFL quarterback. Obviously, he can still play at the top level of NFL quarterbacks, but that's another thing is I think he goes. If I had to pick three teams, Tampa Bay, Denver, and Pittsburgh are my three. But it would not surprise me one bit if Aaron Rodgers just said, like, right before he's supposed to report to training camp for the Packers, if he just went, "Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, I'm done. See you. Peace out. It's been fun."
Almost what happened this year, it seemed like.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be crazy though if he did retire and probably the two top MVP candidates from last year retired, because Brady probably will come in number 2 and Rodgers will probably come in number 1.
Yeah.
That would be wild.
That Hall of Fame class would also be stupid.
Yeah, very stupid. I don't see him staying in Green Bay because they are losing too much. That's what's going through his mind. So I agree. Tampa Bay, Denver, or Pittsburgh. We've been
New
talking about
Orleans.
Denver and Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Why is nobody saying New Orleans? Winston's contract is done. And so they're going to have the room. Yeah, Sean Payton's
They're
done
in salary
too.
cap hell right now.
I don't think they're in that big a hole as you think they are.
I think Sean Payton retired for a reason, and because they're in bad shape.
Yeah,
they're in very bad shape.
They're in bad shape
because he's got like 3 starting quarterbacks on starting quarterback contracts, and no starting quarterbacks.
But what if his contract comes off?
Yeah, what if J-Bo goes back to Tampa Bay and balls out?
Yeah, I was going to mention that as a possibility.
I just Googled this, so I don't know how legit this is, but their estimated salary cap room is negative $76 million.
Oh, that's bad. That is
bad. I don't know where they get that number from, but I'm telling you, I think they're in bad shape.
They are.
Even if that's a wrong number, being that far negative, like it's still
far negative is not a good sign.
Even if there's supposed to be a decimal between the 7 and the 6, that's still not ideal.
Can they just go to Monopoly jail for a season and then like come back and be fine?
Oh man.
Cody mentioned the Steelers. I'd give it about a 0.1% chance that either Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers goes to the Steelers. The quarterback I could see the Steelers picking up is Jimmy G, because he's cheaper and a good stopgap Alex Smith type guy till they find their guy. And depending on the off the field allegations, Deshaun Watson. I mean, we can speculate on Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of stuff that's going to play out with him. Who knows if he's even going to be playing football next year? But I mean, you got Russell Wilson too, who is under contract, but is probably going to be looked to be traded.
Well, Rodgers is technically under contract for 1 more year before he can get out of that.
He
so
can
as a Steelers fan, you don't get Wilson, you don't get Jimmy G, you don't get Rodgers, you don't want Winston.
And the
Winston
Steelers?
wins ball games in Pittsburgh.
No.
Winston wins ball games in Pittsburgh.
No, he threw 35 interceptions with that offensive line. Steelers need to spend their money on shoring up the rest of their team. I will ride with Mason Rudolph and Dwayne Haskins before I sign Jameis Winston.
Oh boy.
One of 9 people ever to throw for 5.
I'm not saying we'd win more games. He also threw 37,000 interceptions that year. That's not a good trade-off.
But he had exactly as many touchdowns as interceptions, so it's kind of like, well.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not getting it done. No, thank you.
But Tampa Bay has drafted Tristan Wirfs since then, so they got drastically better on the offensive line post Winston.
Yes, they did. But we have a lot of work to do, and Jameis Winston is not the answer.
He can do a lot of work. You've seen those
teams won't be in the black and gold.
I do understand your thought process in Pittsburgh. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I just think that your guys' chances of winning are higher than you think, and this is not that. All due respect to the first ballot Hall of Famer, I do think that there are quarterbacks who would give you a much better chance to win than the quarterback you had last year.
Oh, there are, for sure, because we have a ton of salary cap money to spend with Big Ben off the books to shore up those other positions. But if you spend that salary cap money on a quarterback, then you're hoping that you fill those in the draft. And like I said, Deshaun Watson, yes. If you go get Deshaun Watson if he's cleared to play, and you want, he gets a second chance. I'm a firm believer in second chances.
I think no matter who Pittsburgh has a chance at, a lot of it boils down to, do they have a chance to get Pickett in the draft? I think that seems to be the guy that they want.
I think
he's not falling to 20.
Draft Pickett. I think the Saints are going to draft Pickett. Every board I've looked at has the Saints getting Pickett right before Pittsburgh can get to him.
I just find it hard to believe
Pittsburgh
could
trade up. But
I don't feel like you see
it's
trading
like
up in the
18.
NFL near as much as you do in the NBA, though.
Well, we did it
They
to get
traded
Mahomes.
up for traded up for Big Ben. Maybe it's time to do it again.
The Bears traded up one pick to get Mitch Trubisky, so I mean, they traded from number 2 to number 1 to get Mitch Trubisky. So
The Steelers have shown a lot of interest in Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett at the Senior Bowl. Malik Willis is a guy that will be available at 20, most likely.
talk about worst trades ever. That has to be up there. You traded all your picks to go up and get Mitch Trubisky. You traded one
Hold
spot.
on.
The effing
Mitch
door.
Trubisky on the Steelers. Now we're talking.
Matt Nagy is the reason Mitch Trubisky took a Matt Nagy coach team to the playoffs.
I didn't say Mitch Trubisky was the reason for the Bears' failures, but Mitch Trubisky is no longer in Chicago. So you gave up all that to trade up one spot for a guy who's not even in your city anymore.
That's a good point.
They got rid of the wrong guy.
I agree. I agree. Nagy's terrible. I've been saying it all year, and I actually said that Trubisky did really well in the preseason for the Bills this last year. But he's still not in Chicago anymore, and you traded all that to go up to get him.
Yeah, that is Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy's fault, not Trubisky's fault. They got rid of the wrong people. Anyway, Trubisky's another guy that's going to be available this year. He's a blue collar type guy. He could fill in for the Steelers till you find somebody.
The best thing about this is with Big Ben, I don't care how old he was, how washed he looked. It'd been 18 years. You thought you had a chance to win any game he stepped on the field. This year, no expectations. Just get to watch football. I don't think we're going to win this game. And then they might surprise you and win that game. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
All right, Russell Wilson. Is he staying in Seattle or is he going somewhere?
Keeping Daniel Jones, so I don't know anymore.
He said he wanted to play for Denver, the Giants, and Saints, and the Saints were the teams he'd willing to go to.
So Denver's his only option now. The Giants GM kind of locked in on.
Certainly, if the Giants had the chance to get Russell Wilson, they'd move on from Daniel Jones, right?
You would hope, because Daniel Jones is not good at football. I know Kyler likes to say that he is, but no. Everybody wants to dog on the Jets. The Giants are just as bad as the Jets.
Did you see how bad they were without Daniel Jones?
Just as bad as they were with Daniel Jones.
How many games did they win this year with Daniel Jones? They wouldn't have won
a single game without him. 0.
How many did they win with Daniel Jones?
4.
Okay. That's been the story of the last few years with one of the best running backs in the league.
With some get the right coach in
there. Is he though? Is he one of the best running backs in the league?
Saquon, yeah.
Well, he hasn't been healthy for 2 years. He hasn't been healthy.
Last year he wasn't healthy. This year he was healthy for part of the year.
This year he was not healthy. He played about 7 of the games.
Yeah, I think there's been 3 weeks over the past 2 years he's been healthy.
Yeah. So you can't really include Saquon. Plus an atrocious offensive line. I still have some faith left in Daniel Jones to be an NFL quarterback.
You want Daniel Jones to be your quarterback in Pittsburgh?
I would take him over what we got.
Bro.
Well, over what you have, but it's not that much over what you have.
No, but I'd give him a shot until we found, a guy if Jones didn't live up to my hype.
Mason Rudolph or Daniel Jones. That's not putting too high of expectations in Daniel Jones.
I'd go with Dwayne Haskins over Mason Rudolph, but what do I know?
All right, Russell Wilson. So, the Denver thing, obviously they're trying to get Rodgers, right? So I think that Denver's going to screw around and not be in play on Russell Wilson because they're trying so hard for Aaron Rodgers. We've seen franchises do that before where they kind of play with this other huge name and then get screwed out because somebody signed somewhere else. So I think Wilson just stays in Seattle and they have another 7 or 8 win season. And then they just do this all again. Like I don't see a market for Rodgers and Wilson in the same year because there's not going to be a team because both those guys have non-trade clauses. So there's not going to be a team, multiple teams out there that are in the right situations for both. There's probably going to be one team, and the Broncos aren't it, but they think it is. That's fine. The Broncos are not that team, but there's just not two teams out there that have the room to add personalities like that, to add salaries like that at this stage in the game. So you're looking at one team, and they're going to make a play at one or the other, not both.
I agree, Carl. I think one of those quarterbacks is playing a different uniform next year. Hey, Cody, are you all right?
Yeah.
Just checking.
I'm looking at the last year's standings and point differentials right now to see which teams are
Right there.
Yeah, right there. But why? What's up?
I think that
looks like you're
I
about to
think-
hurl or something.
I might be. Who knows?
I think if the Giants were interested, I think that that would be where Russell Wilson ends up, and it's because Sierra runs the Russell Wilson household, and she wants to be in New York. But if the Giants aren't interested, then I think Russell Wilson plays in Seattle. I don't think he wants to be there. I think he wants to be out just as bad as Rodgers wants to be out of Green Bay. Him and Pete Carroll do not get along, and I don't blame Russell Wilson for that one bit. Pete Carroll's still trying to run a defense and run the ball kind of show in Seattle, and they don't have the defense or the running game to do it. But
if you're betting on one of them two that could swallow their pride and go back and play for their respective team, it's definitely Russell Wilson.
No doubt.
100%.
100%.
Yeah. Don't discredit that though. Sierra should run that household.
I don't
She's
disagree.
she's a goddamn icon. So
Sierra would run my household. I'll put it that way.
all right. We touched on Garoppolo earlier. Do we want to go there? Do we want to go somewhere else?
I have a question about Garoppolo, and I just want to hear what you guys say. New England.
No. That ship's
They already have a
gone.
Jimmy G. They have a Mac Jones.
Man, I don't know. I just am not huge on Mac Jones. I don't know.
That's just almost like taking a step backwards, though.
Yeah, paying Jimmy G that much, I agree.
That's-
And at his age.
If Mac Jones doesn't work out, then you go a different direction.
In 2 years. No,
So-
I don't
so where do
see
you
New
guys-
England being.
So where do you guys think Jimmy will be?
Well, he's
Well,
getting
he
traded.
used to back up Tom Brady.
I was
He
gonna
did.
say, is Tampa Bay the option? Is that the guy who goes to Tampa?
That's
I
not
mean,
the worst
why
option
not?
in the world.
Yeah, why not? 69% win rate. It's one of your better options out there if you're Tampa Bay. If you don't get Russell Wilson, you don't get Aaron Rodgers. I think Jimmy G's right there.
So I know a lot of people are going to
Kyle
see.
Trask is the other QB on the roster, maybe.
Or Blaine Gabbert?
Ooh,
That's who came in and backed up Brady this year is Gabbert, not Trask. Which they drafted Trask in the first round last year. Not this past draft, but the year draft before. So you would think Trask would be in the running, but
Cody.
Oh yeah. So I know a lot of you guys are probably going to laugh at this, but I think Goff's time in Detroit is done. Jimmy G makes Detroit a 6-win team instead of a 3-win team.
Detroit can't do anything with Goff's contract and Jimmy G's contract. There's just no way. No one's going to go trade for Jared Goff. Part of
Yeah,
the reason why they're able to make that trade is because of Jared Goff's contract.
Getting a trade partner for Jared Goff would take a miracle.
Yeah, I don't.
Miracles do happen.
If anybody could get it done, though, I've got money on Dan Campbell. I bet
Yeah,
you
because he'll break your
he's
kneecaps
gonna
if you don't.
no, he's gonna take you to Chili's. He's gonna get some of them margaritas in you, and you guys are gonna start talking, man. Like he's gonna get down with you.
The new golf course.
That seems like a Browns thing to do. Trade for Jared Goff.
Next thing you know, you got Jared Goff on a 5-year extension, and you don't even know what happens.
That's what Michael Scott. Business decisions or business moves happen at Chili's. It's the new golf course.
That's right.
Isn't that where he took him? And it's Chili's.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't see Goff will play with the Lions until he backs up somewhere else when his contract's over. That's just how that rolls.
Yeah, they're stuck with him. They made the move. They made the decision.
So, free agent Jameis Winston. So he can take a cellar dweller and give him a couple wins. He can take a team and maintain because, like we said, he has a 1-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. So you weigh the good with the bad. And so you guys laugh, right? The Saints were 5-2 before he got hurt. They were. They were 5-2, and they finished the year 8-9. I'm 8-9. So like they only won 3 games out of their last 10 without him. He was a
9-8.
difference maker on that team. They finished 9-8. All right, so they won 4 games without him over their last 10. So they were obviously better with Jameis Winston. He's not this loser quarterback that everybody likes to think he is. He's one of 9 guys ever to throw 5,000 yards. And like people want to dog on that. How many interceptions did Brett Favre throw? A whole pile. So like you can do it. It's just frustrating to watch, right? And so I don't think Jameis Winston is as washed as people want to think he is. I really don't.
I was
Here's
really
my
high on
problem.
Jameis Winston coming out of college. Kyler can attest for this. I thought Winston was going to be
Oh, he has
great.
character
I
issues.
thought he was much better than Marcus Mariota. I thought it was insane that people compared the two. And Mariota is now an afterthought, obviously. But the problem is comparing him to Brett Favre is the games are way different now. You shouldn't throw 30 interceptions in a season now, no matter who you are, because the defense can't play like it used to. So that's kind of out the window throwing that comparison. I backed Winston over and over and over, and watching the Saints offense was as brutal as watching the Steelers offense this year. And the Saints have a better offensive line, have better running backs, have better weapons. And the reason why it was brutal to watch was because of Jameis Winston. I don't have any faith in Jameis Winston to be a consistent quarterback in the NFL this year.
The
Or
problem
anymore.
the problem with Jameis Winston is you know what you're getting. Yeah, you're not going to have the worst quarterback in the NFL, but at best he's average. So I mean, if you're looking for
that guy? If you can get him for $5 million, maybe.
If you're looking for a stopgap because you don't see a quarterback in this draft and you desperately need a quarterback to play, then you go get him. But that's the quarterback he's going to be for the rest of his career. He's going to travel city to city, filling in like Brian Fitzpatrick. And, he'll have flashes of being good. And then he'll have a lot of flashes of not being very good.
Ryan or Ryan?
Ryan Fitzpatrick.
I thought you were going to make fun of how Kyler was talking about Fitzpatrick was the best quarterback in the division before the season, and now he's hating on him over there.
Oh, well, that was a weak quarterback division, so let's not.
I do like that comparison.
That's Daniel Jones, though. By George.
Yeah. He still has his coming out party hasn't happened yet, so.
I do like that
40-year-old
comparison,
Ryan
though.
Fitzpatrick.
You'll see good games of Winston. You'll see Winston play well a couple games, and then you'll see
you watch it. You
Winston,
freaking watch it. To compare those two. And so, yeah, I get where you're coming from. They were on the same damn team. And when Winston was hurt at Tampa Bay, Ryan Fitzpatrick stepped in, and then they had quarterback controversy. I get where you're coming from. But don't you freaking dare. Don't you dare.
I dared.
I don't agree with Kyler often, and I actually like the comparison. I think that's what's in Winston's future is he'll get
Winston
opportunities.
isn't even an Alex Smith. He's not that good.
Oh, no.
I know
he's not Alex Smith.
So you're saying there's a 0% chance you win a Super Bowl with Jameis Winston? 0.
No. I'd give it
0.1.
0.5.
0.5.
I think Alex Smith could have won a Super Bowl. I think.
Well, yeah, Alex
Smith
Smith
to do it.
There's worse quarterbacks. Okay, I take that back. There's worse quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls than Jameis Winston.
Eli Manning.
Trent Dilfer. Sorry, Trent.
Eli Manning won too.
Joe Flacco.
Joe Fluco.
All right. Who's another quarterback on the list? Is somebody going to trade for Gardner Minshew that needs a stopgap?
I mean,
I think it's a good idea. Cleveland should probably trade for him. You want him in Pittsburgh.
I'd take him. Minshew mania. Pittsburgh would love that guy.
So yeah, Cleveland.
You still haven't seen the negative with Minshew yet, and you can get him for cheap. I think someone trades for him. I don't think he's going to cost a first-round pick. I think you can get him for a third-rounder, and Philadelphia will still make out great in that deal with Minshew. I think somebody trades for him. I just don't know who it'll be.
Is this one of those classic Philadelphia cases where they trade Minshew and then Jalen Hurts doesn't work out and Minshew just tears it up?
And then
I
they
mean,
bring him
so
back
far they
like
look like
4 years later, and he's a backup.
so far they look like they've been the geniuses in this situation. They traded
Yeah,
Wentz
well,
for a
that can
first round
turn
pick.
real
Wentz
quick,
didn't make the playoffs.
I
But
think
especially in Philly.
I did see a statistic that said that it was like I don't even remember what the statistic. It's one of the futuristic, next gen statistics that says what quarterbacks had the most help, and Jalen Hurts had the second most help in the NFL according to the statistic, and the other guys were like guys who like teams that were in the playoffs were serious contenders, and Jalen Hurts, who they didn't beat a playoff team all year, had the second most help according to
Where was
statistics.
Big
So,
Ben on that list?
I think he was somewhere around like 18 or something like that. It wasn't near the top. It
here's
wasn't
where
at the
I
very
think
bottom,
Minshew
but it
ends
wasn't
up.
near the top.
I think Minshew ends up in Houston. I think Houston understands that that situation's not getting any better, and even if it does, there's zero chance that they're able to keep Deshaun Watson. It just doesn't work. And so the Davis Mills experience is done in Houston. Houston played some competitive games this year. They still went out there and tried to be professionals about it. And I think Gardner Minshew makes them probably like a 6 or 7 win team, which in grand scheme isn't great, but it's better than 4. It's better than 3. It's better than putting Davis Mills long neck out there. Like it's just different. So I think he ends up on one of those tier of teams. Um, somebody who just wants somebody better than who they have, and Minshew is better than who they have for any of those top or bottom, probably 8 teams. I definitely don't see Minshew playing back up in Philadelphia any longer. So, and I'm a big you know, fandom aside, Minshew is a fun guy. Like the other day, he was just slicing a katana through the air. Like the dude's just a wild card, and
Does he
sometimes you
carry
just
nu-
need that.
Does he carry nunchucks with him?
I don't know if most franchises
I
know
would
a
not
wild card
doubt
at
it.
quarterback, but
He's a wild card that didn't throw 35 interceptions in the
he's like
season, so
he's like an
Kyler just
extreme
loves him.
Shane Falco.
Anyway, what other quarterbacks do we have? Trubisky. Does Trubisky go somewhere? Because he's done in Buffalo. Stopgap, Kyler?
I mean,
I'd
somebody somewhere he's gonna get an opportunity.
I'd give him a shot. Why not?
All right.
I'd give him his real shot. He hasn't had it yet. Bears don't count.
Are we gonna bring up the elephant in the room before we end this podcast, or no? Do we not have
Yeah, I
time?
don't. I think we're at an hour, aren't we, Cody?
Mm-hmm.
I was
What's
gonna
the
say, are we
elephant in
gonna
the
even
room?
try and bring up Brian Flores or no?
No, I don't think we should, because that's a topic in and of itself that I I think it's best that we let the mainstream media do what it does for another week before we knuckleheads try to chime in on it. So I think that's where we're gonna leave you. So next week we're going to talk Super Bowl. Um, Probably have a couple best bets for you guys to lose money with us, so you can feel like you're part of the team. And then we will get into some of the Brian Flores stuff and on the more serious side of what's happening behind closed doors in the NFL. Um, but until then, you get to look forward to a media week that's going to be awesome with the Bengals haven't been to a Super Bowl since 88. The Rams haven't won one since 99. Should be good. Pro Bowl's coming up. So there's plenty of that to go around. If you're just a few PSAs, if you're unsure about driving in winter weather, please don't. You don't need to end up in a ditch, and there's winter weather across the country right now. Uh, go shovel your grandma's driveway. She would always appreciate it. Stop in and see her. See your grandmas more, fellas. They're not
Tell
around
her about
forever. So
tell her the show's out.
yeah, every week, even when it's NFL Championship Sunday and Cody names it NFC Championship Sunday, even though the wrong name is on there, she'll still watch it. So just let her know. But until then, be good out there. Peace. Tell your grandma.
I gotta go make dinner.